What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm C.
I'm P.
And today we're going to be reacting to the last part 3 of Jordan Peterson's best comebacks against opponents. The first two parts have been doing pretty good. So, hey guys, you guys like this?
Pretty good.
Yeah, the first two parts.
They were pretty good.
I said they're doing pretty good, like the views and the likes and stuff like that.
Well, how
Doing
am I
pretty
supposed to know
good.
what the heck that means?
They're doing pretty.
Who's gonna?
So
know
now
what that
it's
means?
part 3, guys. So yeah, we like Jordan Peterson. We're doing part 3. We're doing this. Ignore this girl.
As always, let us know in the comments below what you think about this conversation, and like, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notified for upcoming videos. And remember, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. We need your help to get there. So, you know, stop playing with the camera.
Let's begin.
Look at it.
And so there's going to be some sexual provocativeness in the workplace, let's say, both ways. But you're playing with fire. And you need to know what the rules are. We don't know what the rules are.
Okay, how about what if I said it is okay to flirt with your coworker from time to time, but, you know, don't grab them in the privates?
Well, that seems, you know, I think we could agree that might be a reasonable start, right? But then, of course, you still have the problem of exactly what constitutes acceptable flirting.
Do you feel like the majority of people then who are sort of in this Me Too movement right now who have been speaking out,
Yeah.
I mean, do you really think all of them are saying that you can't flirt at all? You know, or do you think most of them are saying, you just don't grab me in the privates? Because I just, as somebody who also has read about this, who's studied it quite a bit, who has followed it very intensely, it really does seem like the message is like, hey, like, you know, don't pull your robe off, don't grab me in the
No,
boobs.
I think it's worse than that.
You do?
Yeah, well, look at what happened with NBC. Now you're supposed to report your coworkers if you suspect them of romantic entanglements.
That's been true.
That reminds me of the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith thing, entanglement. Where the entanglement is. I don't know, just remember me of that.
Report your coworkers if you suspect them of romantic entanglements.
That's crazy though.
That's been true about American, like, I mean, that is one symptom.
But this is a policy now.
It is, it's a policy.
Yeah, okay, I was just trying to quick about this. I don't think it matters unless one of them is like a subordinate of the other. Like one of them is a boss, one of them is a underling. That's when I think it matters, because then there's an obvious conflict of interest between, you know. But if it's just they're at the same level in the business and they're like in a relationship, I don't think that matters. You know what I mean? So I don't think you should like snitch on people because they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you think there's like a unfairness going on because your boss is dating somebody who's lower than them, then yeah, you should report that. But if it's just two people at the same level, I don't think it matters.
I just noticed they're not wearing shoes.
Yeah, they're chilling. Look at that, this carpet. They're chilling.
That is one symptom.
But this is a policy now.
It is. It's a policy at one company about sort of this industry-wide problem.
Yeah, it's a response to it, but it's a bad response. You said, like, is it only about not being grabbed? It's like, no, it's not only about that.
If it was only about not being grabbed, would you be okay with it?
Well, I'm not in favor of people being involuntarily grabbed. I'm not in favor of sexual harassment or sexual assault, and not in the least. I think I already.
She's a hypocrite. She's telling me not to bite my nails. She's biting her nails.
I was not biting it. I suck on my nail.
Sure.
Favor of sexual harassment or sexual assault, and not in the least. I think I already told you what I think. I'm a sexual conservative.
Sure.
I don't think people should have sex on the first date. I think they should be very careful with sex. Right, so I'm not in the camp of let's grab each other under the mistletoe at the Christmas party, because what the hell? I'm not in that camp. I'm in the be bloody careful camp.
Be bloody careful.
I think more how we raise them, how we live, education, sort of culture, attitudes form a human being, whether or not they are a girl or a boy when they grow up. And if I raise my daughter to become a leader, to be self-confident, to have a high education for instance, I think she will have a good platform to become a civil engineer, to become a CEO of a company, or to become a nurse. If
Well,
she wants
that is.
But that doesn't mean she's going to pick to be one of those things. She might just be like, oh, I like social work, and be a social worker, even though she has the mental capacity to be a civil engineer or a doctor. She might not want to do those jobs. That's why I think these people are not really grasping.
Yeah.
It's like give the people opportunity, but they might not choose what you want them to choose. It's like they want control of people. They want people to choose what I want you to like. I want you to pick a career that I want you to pick.
I want you to pick this career because there's not a lot of women in here.
Exactly.
So go work
Basically,
there.
it's like forcing people to go in a career that they don't want to do, and that's like egalitarian, right? Isn't it like? Is that what you're proposing? Just because people don't pick what you want them to pick, you're mad about it. It's like
civil engineer, to become a CEO of a company, or to become a nurse. If
Well,
she wants
that is what people who think that the differences between people who are primarily culturally constructed believe, but it's not what the evidence suggests.
Okay, we don't agree on that.
another short one.
This is the question, the heart of the
Right.
matter. So
Right.
on the one hand, you say, look, you don't know, have a clue what you're doing, stay out of it, right? But we live in democratic systems where it's our responsibility not to stay out of it. So how do you manage that? Because you seem to be saying leave
With
it to
humility.
humility, right? But humility doesn't preclude activism.
Generally, it does, yes. But,
Why?
but
Why
that
does it have
doesn't mean that I'm saying that there is no situations under which political action or activism is justified, because there are clearly situations under which it's justified. But it's not the first thing that you should be taught how to do when you're an 18-year-old person going to university and you
Right.
don't know a damn thing.
So I don't doubt that there's callow youth. I don't doubt that people have a lot to learn, and that,
yeah, and they're
and
not
that,
learning it from their professors either.
that may be true. That may be true. But you're clearly, I mean, a big part of your narrative comes from that energy of resisting that kind of, you know,
Circumventing it.
but you're also
Yeah.
saying, you know, these people who complain about the world, they should just focus on their own, what they can control themselves and work within that space.
To begin with.
To begin with, but equally, there is a slight derision in the tone about people who actually care about bigger than self
It's
issues.
not slight.
Okay, it's big then. So bigger than self problems, which arguably
They don't care about them. They just act like they're
Who's
just
they?
acting out
Who-
the delusion that they care
but
about
which
them
you-
generally.
you seem to be caught
I
up
watch
in it.
activists, the activists at the universities.
Right.
I know what they're like.
And we've seen the videos and we know that kind of confrontation, and I don't
We've seen
doubt,
Wilfrid Laurier, for
I've
example.
seen many, but I don't doubt that there are those who are like that. But there are many millions more, and I mentioned Gandhi, but
Yeah.
you know, arguably,
You can't use him as an example.
I was just gonna say that.
Gandhi?
Of course, you're gonna use Gandhi as like an example. Of course, like use the most extreme, like positive, you know, thing to justify to prove a point. It's like
They always do the extreme on one end of the
It's-
coin.
it's
Whether
like-
it's the extreme positive or
it's
extreme
like
negative.
it's like arguing about immorality and be like Jesus. Like seriously, that's what you're gonna use to justify your thing. Like
I choose God.
Jesus did it, so it's possible. Like come on, man.
I'm gonna one up you. I say God.
who are like that. But there are many millions more, and I mentioned Gandhi, but
Yeah.
you know, arguably,
You can't use him as an example.
okay, well, Buddha, for example.
Or
Buddha,
him.
Buddha left his wife. Buddha left his wife and child.
Yeah, but you can't use them as examples.
Okay,
First of all,
then-
like Buddha's like Christ. It's like, well, there's Christ. It's,
Exactly.
Yeah. What
I
is
just-
it?
that's
Is
what
Christ
I'm-
in university
I
hours?
just made that
but
point.
No.
well, there's so Martin Luther King. Can I use him?
Yeah.
Right? So Martin Luther King had an affair. It was quite well
Yeah.
known. You know, his personal life was a bit complex.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't say that, you know, he had to sort that out before he went to sort of try and deal with civil rights in the U.S. So I'm trying to get at the core of the
No,
tension.
I would say that his own personal faults didn't preclude his social responsibility. And it really is important to get that straight. But I would say that his own personal faults served as a detriment to his overall mission.
right.
And then I'm not, believe me, I am not saying that if I was in Martin Luther King's position, I would have done a better job. It's like, I am not saying that, man. Not in the least.
So I think John Peterson is saying it's like I don't know, man. It's like it's saying people who come out of universities, right? The first thing they're taught is that if there is a problem, become an activist and like you know say it should be changed. But these kids are not. I'm saying kids like I'm not young. like you know this is kids.
These
you know,
students.
or the first thought is activism, and so being like, you know, let me figure out why this problem exists. Let me figure out, you know, how can it be solved? Because a lot of these kids just go into activism without even going deep into the problem and figure out why the problem is there, how it can be solved. They don't really think about it that deeply, right? The first thing they thought is activism.
As a clinical psychologist, I've often treated people with anxiety, and people wonder, practically, individually, clinically, why are people anxious? And I think, that's a completely ridiculous question. The reasons for anxiety are starkly self-evident. What I wonder is, why aren't people terrified out of their skulls so badly every second of their life that they can't even move? Yeah, and you all laugh because you understand that. It's like anxiety, that's no mystery. It's like brief spells of calm, that's a mystery. Okay, and a client will come to me and say, well, I'm procrastinating. Why do I procrastinate? It's like, no, that's a stupid question. It's easy just to sit there and do nothing. What's the mystery is why you ever get up and do anything difficult at all. Procrastination is the default. And
that's a good point.
Psychologists ask, doctors ask, well, why do people take cocaine? It's like, no, it's it's the wrong question. The right question is, why not, like an addicted rat, don't you just take cocaine all the time until you die? That's the question. And this question about meaning is like that too. Is there meaning in life? That's a stupid question. And I'm serious about that. That's not a question you ever ask yourself if you're in pain, right? Because when you're in pain, you know that life has a meaning. It's the pain. And you can't argue yourself out of that meaning. And so, when we're asking whether or not life has meaning, that isn't what we mean. What we mean is, in the face of life's pain and suffering, does life have any positive meaning? And that is not the same question.
Yeah.
There are a lot of videos on the internet of you destroying or obliterating people, and they get a lot of views.
Same for Ben Shapiro. He's always destroying somebody.
Seriously.
So if you could destroy me in this interview, we'd really appreciate it.
You'd like that?
Yeah, not a lot of people watch our show.
I can't guarantee it, but we'll see what happens.
Do you ever watch those videos when you're feeling down about yourself? Do you just watch those videos and go, yes, I destroyed that person.
No,
I roll.
no.
Come on!
No, that doesn't happen.
No.
Well, I'm sure that you've met women in your life that acted towards you in a bullying and detestable manner. It's very difficult for women to cope with that because they don't have any real recourse. And female bullying can be unbelievably vicious, and usually that takes the shape of reputation destruction, innuendo, and gossip. It's well documented. It's very difficult to defend. No, men do it too, but men no. But the patterns,
disproportionately women in your view, or not? Sorry.
Yes, disproportionately women. That's what the data indicate. I mean, if men
Where
are...
is the data on innuendo and gossip?
Well, it's among antisocial behavior among adolescents. It's a well-documented field. So, because people look at aggressive and antisocial behavior in women and in men. And in women, it tends to take the expression of innuendo, gossip, and reputation destruction. And in men, it tends to take the form of outright physical aggression. There's a whole literature on that. It's not a surprise to anyone. This has been known for 30 years. I mean, the rates of antisocial...
I think the idea of the female gossip probably predates the...
I don't think you need a study to realize that.
Yeah.
Like
no,
guys be like, oh, you got a problem? We got a problem? All right, let's go out the back and settle it.
Yeah.
With aggression. But women, what do? They gossip about you.
Spread
look at
rumors.
what she's exactly.
Try to hurt you.
I don't think you need a study to. I don't think it's such a like a mind blowing thing he's saying, because you can see it in regular life. Guys fight with aggression. They actually physically fight. But no girl's gonna be like, oh, you got a problem with me? Let's go out, unless you're from the hood.
I was just about to say. I mean, even the hood girls, the ratchet girls, do that though, because if you notice, there's so much time building up to the quote unquote fight. Mm-hmm. The fight doesn't just happen. Men, the fight happens. If they're friends, they fist pump it out and walk away after the fight is over. If they're just not friends and they're just beefing, the fight happens until one person's on the floor bleeding and then the other person walks away. girls, if you're hood girls or ratchet girls, you're standing there, name calling each other for hours, slapping your hands together for hours, and then eventually a fight happens. Eventually.
And I think
if somebody doesn't come and break it up.
And I think guys, when guys fight, it's more likely that after the fight they're like, "Aye, we'll be good." You know what I mean? But it's way less likely for after girls fight where they're good after. Mm-hmm. Usually it's like a year long, you know, mm-hmm. Constant, competition with each other. Yeah. That means to guys too. What I'm talking about is disproportionately. Mm-hmm. Men sometimes are like, after they fight, they're like, alright, we got it out, we're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said,
but it's well for us to do that. Yeah.
For 30 years. I mean, the rates of antisocial...
I think the idea of the female gossip probably predates 30 years.
Well, it does.
By a long time, but that doesn't doesn't make it gospel.
But
really,
people
does
have no, it doesn't. But people have looked at how women express. Look, women have to express aggression somehow, unless you're willing to say that they're not aggressive. They tend not to do it physically, not to the degree men do. So they use other channels. And what other channels are there other than physical aggression? If you're going to be aggressive, well, you go after people verbally. You go after them with innuendo and gossip and reputation destruction. And that's how it works.
And just to be clear, that you think that's predominantly a female modus operandi?
Yes.
It isn't that I think that.
Well,
it's that the clinical literature indicates that.
I'm pretty sure that, that's pretty obvious, right? How gossiping is mostly girls who gossip. Yeah. Of course, guys do it. So no one is saying that guys don't gossip, but of course they do. But mostly
the majority of people that gossip are females, obviously. But I love how every time he's interviewing with a female, they always try to make it so he would say that this is what I think instead of no, this is the facts.
The study says that, not just me.
Like they keep like it's like a little needle like.
So you're a monster.
You say this.
You're a misogynist. It's like no, the studies say this.
Studies.
Because you keep calling the study misogynist,
Yeah, but that's why they do it because they wanna point him as the bad guy.
Exactly. Continue.
I'm confused about how this dovetails with your thesis that the left is too preoccupied with being non-confrontational. Right?
The left is too preoccupied
well, just that
with
we
being,
are.
that's interesting.
Okay, all right.
No, that's a good question.
But the idea that liberals, especially intellectuals, are preoccupied with politically correct speech, that they're not.
I see. What
and yet.
No, they're too preoccupied with identity politics by a large margin, and they tend to categorize everyone by their ethnicity and their sex and their gender, and I think all that does is turn people into tribal actors, and that the end result of that is catastrophe.
Facts, because they're gonna fight. If you separate people into different groups, those groups are naturally going to have conflict between each other. Mm-hmm.
We are both privileged white males. Can we really understand the suffering of women?
Well, it depends on how useful your capacity for understanding the suffering of others is, or how well developed that is. I don't see that it's necessarily any more difficult to understand the suffering of women. Well, I would never pose the question that way because I don't know how you understand the suffering of a group being an individual. I don't think a woman can understand the suffering of women because that's predicated on the assumption that an individual can take on the burden of a group, and I don't buy that assumption to begin with. I think we vary in the ability to, let's say, empathize with others, but I don't think there's any evidence whatsoever that you can't empathize across a gender barrier. Otherwise, no relationship would even be possible.
Very well put. Very well put. Because people try to say, because you're not black, you're not a woman, you're not this, you're not that, you cannot understand.
You can understand
the whole group. Through. Like, for example, me, right? Mm-hmm. My lifestyle might not be the typical lifestyle for all black people. Mm-hmm. So how can I understand the feelings or lifestyle of like a whole, race? You know what I mean? Or you, for example, I think I can understand you personally better because we spend so much time together and we know each other. Mm-hmm. I can understand your problems better than I can with the whole black community. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you cannot understand the problems of a whole community like
whether they're your grouping or not. Just because I'm a white woman doesn't mean that I understand all the burdens of white women.
Exactly.
For example, I can't understand the burdens of a white woman who's in her 40s with 4 kids and a husband, because I don't have kids or a husband. So how would I understand that burden? So I can't group myself saying that I understand the burdens of women throughout the world and throughout the they also like to group themselves throughout the centuries too. Like I understand the burdens of women from the past and how we've come so far, but we still have so much to do and we're still being oppressed and blah blah blah. There's no way for you to really know that because you can't understand every single woman and what they're going through because you don't know what every single woman's going through. You don't even know what your neighbor's going through, let alone a woman that's like halfway across the world.
Basically, I think the point is that you can empathize or sympathize with an individual way better than with a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's the summary of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And people should do that. Like, I feel like we need to stop grouping everybody in the good sense and in the bad sense.
Like I said,
because either one is bad if you think about it.
I'm not saying we can acknowledge the troubles that groups have gone through in life. I'm not saying that at all. But yeah, guys, John Peterson, like,
comment,
subscribe.
Bye.
See you next time.